So we're back, and this is like going to be part two. We're going to talk about the teams we think will be in the top four, and then, as I mentioned, talk about some of the feedback we got, things we'll be doing better, plans for next split. So start things off with Gravity. So a lot of people saw Gravity, and they were like, "What the fuck? Why are they ranked so high?" But actually, a lot of people saw Gravity and also was like, "Wow, this ranking actually makes a lot of sense. Gravity is a top four team." So it's quite weird to see. Huh?
How about why their logo is so bad?
Yeah, their logo is pretty bad. If you speak of logos, you can check the middle of the screen for the new GoldPer10 logo, bringing in a new site redesign soon, so you guys should be excited for that. It's gonna look really good.
Yeah,
so,
I've seen it. It looks
it's gonna look really good. So
it looks like it wasn't done in Windows 98.
So the first thing is, why do we rank Gravity so high?
Alright, so Gravity, this is like a really cohesive team. Like if you watch them team fight, they team fight really well. Everyone on that team like knows their job. Cop's been in the LCS forever. Like there's a benefit to experience. Like, and Cop isn't the worst AD carry in the LCS. Like he's your average. He's literally the definition of your average LCS carry, which is great. I mean, that's a solid. Who did they have before Cop? They had.
They always had. Oh, they had Impactful.
Who
I'll talk a little bit more about later. Actually,
they had Impactful.
That guy's the guy who I want to talk about.
He was traded out Impactful and Chris for Hauntzer and Cop, and I think those are both upgrades.
Yeah, in fact, they're very significant upgrades. So most people already read my profile on Gravity, but for those who didn't, I do want to give a brief breakdown of just why I think they'll be good, because they were admittedly the worst of the three challenger teams that made it in. Honestly, that series against CLG, people are giving them a little bit too much credit for that. CLG was in just an emotional dumpster at the time. They were not in a good state, and it's also true that the other teams that Curse Academy played were mostly expansion teams, like Coast and Fusion. Just expansion teams. They weren't that good, but in those signs,
yeah.
I mean, Fusion was good, but compared to like a TSM or Cloud9, Fusion is not good.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
I really wanted MacNoon to make it.
Me too.
Just because I wanted. God, Poppy LCS? Like, are you kidding? I just wanted him to break the meta. And I think we have Impact now, and I think Impact might be able to do the same thing. But yeah. Sorry, sidebar.
No. So what happens is that I think that the weird thing about Gravity. There's some kind of alarm going off outside. Hope it's not anything related to me. So the weird thing about Gravity is their players are much better individually than people give them credit for. Hauntzer, okay, so I compared him to Zoro and Flame, who he's not nearly as good as Zoro Zero. I compared them to him, but the thing that he has that they have too is that he has a very unique approach to the top lane. That is the perfect way to play top lane. Like, if you want to be a god tier top laner, which is the hardest position to be good at, keep that in mind. Mm-hmm. If you look at the top 20 best players in history, I bet that only like 2 or 3 of them are top laners. The way to
Flame and
maybe like Rebird or MacNoon, and then after that it's like maybe like I don't even know, like
MacNoon was like a flash in the pan though.
Yeah, maybe like Dyrus. I don't even know.
I don't think Dyrus makes the top 20.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Like, anyways, top is a hard position to shine from, and he has that mentality of like how to do it, which is he battles for every small advantage, and he just collects these small advantages, and like that's how Flame played, that's how Zoro Zero played, and they collect that was like 2 CS on this wave, 2 CS on this wave, 10 waves later you're up 30 CS, and then it's like
20,
and it's like you're up 20, but like there were some cannon creeps in those. There were some cannon.
All right, I'll give that.
And he also farms the jungle camps. Some of them was, but it's like when to proxy, when to like push those small advantages, having a wide champ pool, being able to play all these styles. Hauntzer can do that. He's not nearly as good as those guys are right now, but he has like the seeds of
greatness.
He has the seeds of, if not greatness, at least the seeds of being able to play top lane with that mindset, which is already tremendously helpful in and of itself. Not a lot of people know about Hauntzer. In fact, Freak did him a great disservice because he said that Hauntzer was a Diamond 2 player. Hauntzer had like 2 accounts in Challenger when he said that. They were just Smurf accounts under like weird-ass names.
Yeah,
so
it'd be like saying like, oh, Dyrus has no account Challenger. It's like, yeah, well, it's called 1-800 Michael.
Yeah, right?
It's like he's like... It's a job in itself keeping track of either Dyrus, and if you had tried to keep track of like Civ HD's names or something, he changes them like every day.
No, quick pause. Not saying that Freak didn't do his research. It was just that one particular instance.
Right,
I think
yeah.
that gave people a quite negative opinion of Hauntzer. But no, this guy was just as good as Cali Trolls and Ackerman in Season 3. Or if not just as good, a little bit worse. But he was around that level. And then in Season 4, he was still like probably the best top laner in Challenger. Like this guy's going to be legitimate, like a legit threat heading into and he's possibly their best player. Like him and Bunny are like Bunny.
Like,
they have actually some pretty solid players in general, but I do think he's possibly going to be like their star player.
Keane's improved a lot too, because like
Yeah.
when they were playing COG, he was he was a one-trick pony, which is I didn't want to say it because it was literally a pony. It was literally a pony. I didn't want to say one-trick pony, but I think he's really fleshed out his champion pool. He can play meta champions now.
His Zed is good.
He couldn't play meta champions 4 or 5 months ago. Now he can. So I think if Keane, if it was the Keane from when they played COG, I wouldn't have rated Gravity as high. But one, I can't wait to see one of like either. I like TSM, so I don't want Bjergsen, but at the same time, I want to see one of the really good mids in NA just get blue shelled by mid heck. It's not enough to just like beat like Link with it or something. Like I want to
first pick. You can't first pick a melee AD mid versus Hecarim. So you either have to ban Hecarim if you want to play the Zed,
right? Yeah,
or like Kassadin. But
it's great because there's so many good Zeds.
Well, Kassadin's not AD, but yeah.
Right. There are a lot of good Zeds in NA. Like there are a lot of like High and Bjergsen, it's both their signature champions. Like if you look at when TSM played C9 at regionals, like the games that High wasn't on Zed, like Bjergsen just destroyed him. It was really bad.
High, we'll get into High more later.
Right. So
he's another interesting player.
I think Keane is. I think he's gotten a lot better the past few months.
Yeah, both their solo laners have the chance. Both their solo laners are not there right now. They're not.
No, they're not.
But they have the potential to blossom into genuine superstars. Like both of them have a lot of potential.
They're more than the sum of their parts right now. They're more than some because that team fighting is extraordinary. They'll be behind coming out lane, but then they'll hit the first team fight dragon, and they play it really well. Like they came back. Like when they played their best of 5 to qualify, they in the expansion tournament, they came back in a lot of those games because their team fighting was just really good. Everyone knows their role. Everyone knows what they're supposed to do. Cop is, as much as people are just like he's too passive, like against challenger competition, like Cop's great. And Bunny's, it was Bunny. Who was it that said Bunny was going to be the best support by?
Saint Vicious.
Say is going to be best support by 2015. And I mean, he could be. I mean,
he could be. I know. He's getting there. His champion pool has expanded. He's like a Morgana. His Morgana is so good right now too.
Dude, Morgana's secret. Morgana is so strong right now, and the thing is, we're gonna see Morgana. We're gonna see in mid lane. So what makes Morgana strong now is you can
flex her.
It's been a few months, a few years, like back in season 2 when Morgana was like the #1 pick, and like entire games rode on whether you could hit your binding or not.
Yeah.
Like that was too one-dimensional. Now Morgana could be a flex pick again because like she's really strong right now in lane.
I agree.
So like, I'm not sure if Keane can play her, but
it's not too hard. Like just to be honest, it's not too hard.
No, it's
not a mechanically difficult champion to play.
Farming on that champion is like you could AFK do that. It's like that's a really easy champ. All you have to do is be able to land your Q. You're immune to. You're almost immune to ganking because you
can roam really well. Yeah, no, it's a good pick. They also played a top lane in Korea. Who was it? I don't want to say it was Smeb. It was not Smeb, but it was.
It's a very similar to like having Lissandra in top lane, really.
Yeah.
Like the ultimates are just similar AoE lockdown style ultimates. Lissandra has the mobility.
And Morgana's a little safer because she can shoot from farther away. But like, other than that,
it's a similar concept.
I agree.
So yeah, no, and honestly, like I did used to be. I'm a big fan of Saint right now.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan. People are just like, you gave Saint Vicious an 8.
He's not an 8, dude. I gave him like a 4.
You gave him a 6.
I gave him a 6
because I talked you off of the 4. The thing is, like, his smites are, and he admits it. He admits that his smites are.
It's not just the smiting though. It's his over aggression. Like Saint, when Saint is at his best, like Saint was legitimately the best jungler in NA. He was the best jungler in NA in season 2 too. Like people don't want to admit it, but come on, man. He was playing with Cop, Westeros, Elements, and Nijaki. And he was one game off from making the World Championships against TSM. And he was
very good.
The only carry on that team. Season 3, he was still really good. In All Stars, he was one of the like everyone makes for that All Stars throw where he like bases as Zac. Right. But like if you remember what happened right before he based, he stole Baron and got a triple kill.
Didn't
Yeah.
Didn't Thorin write an article saying that like the turning point of COG losing was when they like bent Saint Vicious?
Yeah, he did.
I just think like he brings a lot from a shot calling perspective, and NA doesn't have many good shot callers.
I don't think Saint is a great shot caller, but his team listens to him, and that's why they're so good at picks and team fight.
That's actually a reason why I knocked down Crumbs. It's just like Crumbs was Dignitas shot caller, so he has to get some of the blame for the fact that they make some pretty terrible decisions. So he has to get some of the blame.
Yeah.
Saint 8 might have been a little high, but honestly, like again, jungle isn't that great in NA.
Saint has also one thing that Saint does that's really interesting is he builds Sightstone on every character. He'll build Sightstone on Kha'Zix, Sightstone on Warwick, and like people are like, okay, like this is so stupid, but it's like
vision control is a big deal. It's a huge
Gravity's
deal.
vision control is so like okay. The one thing that worries me about Gravity,
team fights.
One thing that worries me about Gravity though is that they lose lane to challenger teams sometimes, and it's not the reason they lose lane isn't because they're mechanically worse. It's because they just throw like you'll be like. People will face check bushes, or Saint will gank a lane with like 10 HP, and then he'll just get last hit. Like he'll literally just get last hit, and then
everyone hates playing solo queue and their jungler ganks with 2 bars, and you're
right.
Oh shit!
Why did you do that? And it's like
against like it's like the 2-bar Shaco ganking the like full health Renekton.
Yeah, right.
One
Saint
shot.
Just that kill game sometimes, or like you'll see some of their other players, but that same early game aggression, like.
Dude, you gave Gravity 8 for objective control.
They have really good objective control. You think that Saint's smiting makes them lose, but what they do is they're so good at setting up the picks.
They win the fight first.
And they win the fight, and then they get the objective. That's objective control in of itself. Like
we'll get to the same idea with TSM, because TSM's a very similar team where they didn't have the best smiter, but they're good at team fights, so they win the fight first, and then there's no one to contest. It was weird, because TSM Adwin was one of the best smiters, but
yeah.
And I guess, I mean, Saints, I think he was better at smiting during the Challenger Series, and then he got to the expansion tournament and forgot how to do it again.
Yo, he hit some okay ones, I think, if I remember right. He's the team. Gravity just knows who they are.
Like he admits it. He laughs at himself. He's just like, did I really just miss that smite?
No, Saint knows who he is. Gravity knows who they are, and that's why I have them as number 4. I think their team fighting understanding of roles, like the one thing they do is they don't have small champion pools. They have good champion pools, but they have good understanding of their roles. They have good understanding of their roles. Hauntzer is like always will play that tank. He'll zone the back line. He'll provide that support. Saint and Bunny are like your playmakers. They'll make those picks and they'll be engages. Saint's your main engager. Bunny will be your off engager, and then Keane will be like that like next wave of engagement where he plays the Hecarim. He plays the Orianna. Excuse me. Those are still his 2 best champions.
Yep.
His Zed is still good. He'll do a secondary engage on Zed by like the Dade style of like going. This sounds crazy because I'm comparing all these Curse Academy like Gravity scrubs to like the best players ever. It's like, what are you saying? But it's like, no, they play like them.
Disclaimer:
not...
we do not think Gravity is as good as any of those players.
Dude, they have
they
have Flame, they have Dade, they have Saint from season 2. Dude, they're gonna be so good. Like, no, just keep like.
I hope he picks Hecarim every game until someone bans it on him.
They play like them. Yeah, I know. His Hecarim is another thing. They also have a very interesting pick ban phase where they force you into these weird mind game situations due to the Hecarim pick and Bunny's Thresh Morgana combo. Where you're automatic, and Saint pulls out weird picks to his card. He has always pulled out weird picks.
Yeah, he has. No,
one of the most underrated innovators.
Doing picks and bans against Gravity is gonna be really hard, especially because there's I mean, I think Talon only was popular for like 2 months. I don't think Talon's in mid, but like, yo, Zed is there, Yasuo's there. I don't think you can pick Hecarim. I don't think you can pick. You might be able to pick Yasuo and Hecarim and be okay, but you definitely can't pick Zed.
Yeah. Yasuo would be hard too. Like, it'd still be hard is the thing. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Because it's all like, even if Yasuo dodges, because it's a most of Hecarim abilities are either targeted or AoE. Like, it's gonna hit you anyway.
Yeah, you're gonna get in a lot of trouble.
It's not like against Zed. Like, if you play Yasuo against Zed, Yasuo can block the crap. Like, Yasuo can't block the freaking horse charging at him.
Yeah.
Like, Wind Wall doesn't work on that button. So it's just like those are 2 power picks. Like, Yasuo is a power pick for Zhao Zhao. Zed's a power pick for Hai and Bjergsen. And those are power picks that every other team has to ban Zed against Hai and TSM.
Yeah.
Gravity's not going to have to.
Yeah,
At least
it's
until
gonna be,
Bjergsen decides to style on Keane when he picks him anyway.
yeah, it's gonna be a weird mind game situation though.
Yeah.
I agree. Individually, they might have some problems. I think they can develop a lot individually.
Yeah.
But
no, they're gonna. The worst I see them is maybe 5th, 5th, or 6th.
they can also be like an SK-like team. Honestly, they might be even better than we think they're. If one of the players makes a jump, like if you remember the original SK lineup, it was like Freddy, Svenskeren. Those guys. Oh wait, Freddy and Svenskeren were better when they joined the team than like Hauntzer and like.
Inconsistent, and then he became consistent, and SK got better.
Yeah, or like Svenskeren was interesting because I always thought he was actually an elite player, but like he was like a hidden gem, and maybe like I don't know, maybe like Bunny will be that. It's quite possible.
Well, and they made a big mid lane upgrade too. Like getting Nuke Duck over Justice is big.
No, they got Fox. They got Fox.
Sorry, Fox, and then they got Forgiven over Panda. I really like. Yeah, I had drafted my fantasy team actually. I think Forgiven's going to be a really solid pick, but that's EU, and this is not EU.
No, but I just want to say that I think that Gravity has the potential to be like that original SK squad, where like not the strongest mechanical players. Some guys turn out to be like hidden gems, and the team's like strong unity and good like I said, good identity and good and that good idea of who they are will.
That's the thing.
Will carry the day.
A few teams need it. I think I read Forgiven. I think did get an offer from Dignitas, but that's another example, like how COG could have gone Alex Itch. Like Dignitas could have possibly at least tried to get Forgiven over Core. I mean, obviously,
I never knew
you
that.
would join Dignitas over SK Gaming. Obviously.
Yeah, that's true.
Not in this case. That SK Gaming roster looks so strong right now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts on Gravity you want to wrap up, or I'm trying to think if I had anything else to say.
I just think they're a really balanced team.
Yeah.
They don't have any big weaknesses that stick out. Like, yeah, there's Keane could use some development as far as in the mid lane still, but I think he'll be okay.
One player I wanted to mention was Cop. Cop was actually playing pretty bad at the expansion tournament. Like, he was like Nian was a lot better than Cop.
Nian was the best AD carry there.
Mash was a lot better than Cop. Cop was not that good in the expansion tournament. Like, the thing is though, the
meta is rounding into him though. Like he has a solid Graves.
Pretty good Corki. His Corki has always been his best character.
Yeah.
Maybe MF will return. Who knows? Like,
he plays Caitlyn a lot too.
Yeah, but the thing about Cop is his best time period ever was when he was playing with Bunny Fufu. Like that was his time period when he was an actual he was looking like an AD carry star. Like people would Curse got 4th that split. People are like haha Curse 4th, but it's like wait that team was pretty bad. It had Quas who wasn't very well developed yet. Quas was still learning how to play the game. Voidboy was still learning how to play mid. You would see Voidboy play like Vladimir and Akali every single game. Like he didn't even have that like big champ pool yet.
He didn't have a mid lane champ pool. He played top lane champs mid.
And I Will Dominate was still developing. Like I Will Dominate was still developing his synergy. Like that team was really based around Cop. Like in that particular split, and he was really delivering like big time performances. So maybe if he brings himself back up to that level, it's funny that like a player who's a veteran is known for being consistency might in fact be the guy who steps up for Gravity. Like it's like an interesting thing to think about.
Well, and one other thing, just last thing again, back to, have you noticed that some of the LCS top laners have been spamming top Hecarim?
I noticed that Dyrus was playing it.
It's been more than Dyrus, so that's one of those things where that would be like the craziest flex pick of all time.
Yeah.
Because, like, say...
Hauntzer could pick it up. He has a big champ pool.
I would put my... Sane could probably play it.
Yeah, that would be really funny, actually.
Like, I think Hecarim Jungle is probably pretty good right now. I mean...
He was one of... Actually, Sane was the guy was one of the guys who brought Hecarim Jungle back into the meta, if you remember.
That's very, like... If Gravity had the first 2 picks and they picked Morgana and Hecarim, you'd be like...
Alright, whatever.
I have no idea what's going on right now.
That would be pretty funny. Yeah.
That was just... Yeah, they're going to be a hard team to pick and ban against.
Yeah. So like I said, I think we both think Gravity will be high up.
Yep.
Their only pitfall will be that, you know, their opponents just weren't as good as we think they are.
Right.
It won't translate as well. Because the thing is that other teams that shit on Challenger teams were LMQ, Cloud9, and the original Curse in Season 3. Like original, they all became elite teams.
Right. Yep.
Like so, I mean, I think it's quite possible. Like, yeah, shitting on Challenger team isn't that big of a deal, but when you do it in a way where you can so clearly see why this team is good,
it's not quite on LM. I think LMQ is honestly the most dominant of those 3.
Yeah, those teams were more dominant than Curse was right now, especially because Curse only did it for Gravity only did it for a short period of time. They only did it for like essentially they only did it for the CLG series and the expansion tournament. Yep. They were quite bad in Challenger. So, but I think
they made 2 really big upgrades. Like,
Yeah, they did.
if they still had Chris, they probably would be rating them like 7th or 8th.
One thing to note though, Mankind was a quite good player on that team. They benched him for Keane. They benched him because of arguments with Saint Vicious, and I was talking to some guys. I think it was Leaky San again, and he said that that's like possible pitfall. Like if they have an internal synergy problem, I don't think it will because they look like they really know how to play together now.
Saint's got strong personality.
It's a possible red flag, just a possibility. Like
who's their coach?
Who's their coach? Soldra. He was on China Talk, the China Talk guy.
Okay.
Like
it's weird now because every team has to have a coach that's actually a face.
He's an intelligent guy, but he's younger than Saint, which is kind of like an interesting thing to know. Like, it's interesting not to just... I mean, Saint's one of the oldest guys in the scene, so it's hard to find a guy like... Maybe they could have Monty coach or something.
That was one of the things that always threw me off about TSM. People don't realize Reggie's freaking 22. Reggie's really young. He's younger than, like... He's 3 years younger than Odd One, for example. So, like, those age differences can cause trouble.
I'm pretty sure he's younger than Maple Street.
Is Maple's 22?
I heard that Maple's like 22, 23. I might be wrong on that one.
That's quite possible, yeah.
So, move on to Liquid, or do you have any final thoughts on Gravity? Which I asked like 5 minutes ago.
No, I'm good. Yeah, no, I had my final thoughts on Gravity.
Okay.
He is 22. He just turned 22, though. Reggie's been 22 for a little while.
Liquid. So, the first thing to talk about is...
Dude, I thought they were going so good. I'm just not sure about Phoenix.
I have some information on Phoenix I wanted to talk about. Phoenix... he was really good in NA Challenger. He was known for having a very wide champion pool. This is another one of those times where I'm going to see. The thing is that in order to make people understand about a Challenger player, you need to compare him to like a player with a very distinctive playstyle.
Right. Exactly.
No, Phoenix is not as good as White's, but much like White's, Phoenix has a very large champion pool. He's a very lane dominant player. He's always like. White's wasn't a player who pressed for advantages so much as he understood the innate kits and advantages of different champions. And that's what Phoenix has, at least on a challenger level. And that's another skill that looks like it'll translate well. And he was a Reaper's protege. So Reaper, one of the greatest minds to ever play League of Legends. He was Reaper's protege. He learned a lot from him. So he's coming in. I heard they picked him up for his lane dominance. Keane apparently refused to try out for Curse. Like, you heard that story because he thought that Phoenix was better than him, if you remember. So I don't know how true that is, of course, but that's another one of the.
Keane, I don't know if Keane would say that now, but I mean because Keane was like Voyboy. Keane is Voyboy. Keane is the new Voyboy. Like he's just learning how to play mid lane champions.
That was the other thing Keane. Yeah, Keane. Keane. I forgot to mention this, but Keane. I mentioned this in my article. Keane used to be a mid lane star. He was top 5 in Korea and NA and top in the number 1 in Oceanic region, and he only played 4 champions, which are Caston, Nidalee, Orianna, and Hecarim, and 2 of those champions were reworked. So he basically got to relearn his champ pool from scratch. I mentioned that in the article. I wanted to bring that up again in case people missed that. But Phoenix, very wide champion pool. It was interesting that they picked him up just because, like, man, I was talking to Aaron at Wagner Anti. He wrote the CLG article, and he mentioned that he thought if Curse picked up Easy Hood, that would have been really big. Like, it just seemed weird that they brought, not only did they bring in an outside player, but they also role swapped him.
But how would they get Easy Hood?
I don't even know. Like, it was just throwing an idea out there.
That's like the eternal NA myth of X team could get Zoro's hero.
Yeah,
it's like the eternal myth of this could happen.
Yeah, well, I don't think Curse could never get someone from SKT1, dude. That's
Mac Noon was that myth, and then it actually happened. Then a team actually picked him up.
Yeah, so
I don't know, like
and it didn't work out, but
which is so sad. Mac Noon, please.
Curse. Oh man, Curse.
No,
yeah.
Phoenix is just. I don't know enough about him, but I can see where it's odd to me because Phoenix is a potential pick. Piglet's definitely a we want to win now pick.
Yeah, their whole team is win now. You have I will dominate Quas and X Special. Those are the 3 positions that NA historically has been extremely weak at, and they have those 3 players are top 3 in their roles at worst.
Yep,
top 3 at worst. I think Quas has gotten a lot better. Quas is a player I do want to discuss because people complain that we rated Quas low. Like I think I gave him an 8 or a 9.
I was the one that rated him lowest. I gave him a 7.
Okay.
And people were mad at me because I rated him below Dyrus, I rated him below Balls. I gave Callie a 9. I feel like I gave Callie higher than Balls and Dyrus.
Oh, that's a little weird, actually. That was a little weird.
I don't know what I was. I
That was a
I
little.
recant on that. I rated Cali Trolls as tied with Impact as the best top laner. So I plead the fifth on that one because I don't think Cali Trolls is going to be the best top laner. But
The thing is, Quas. The truth is that Quas only had a very short time period of being good. Much like I think he is good. I think Quas is the real deal. But the real time that Quas really stepped up was he stepped up really big in the playoffs on that weird frozen mallet Nidalee pick.
Yep.
The really godlike Lulu. He was crushing people on Lulu. He was pretty good in that the whole split in general. And he was kind of held back by like Curse. Like Voyboy and Cop were kind of holding him back. Voyboy got a lot better near the end of the split, which is why Curse took off.
he
But
learned mid lane champions.
yeah, but I felt Quas was always pretty good, but I just feel like Quas could use a little bit more time. I can't definitively say that Quas is better than Dyrus or Balls right now. Like I can't definitively.
Yeah.
I think it's possible. So that's why I thought it was quite confusing that people were upset we didn't raise Quas a 10.
Yeah.
On a Western scale too, like Freddy, those guys. I don't know. Like I'm not saying Quas is worse than them because I think he might be better than them. I think Quas is good. I just don't think I can say for sure that Quas is better than them. So that's why I did that. And who knows? Like I want him to prove me wrong. I'm a big fan of his game. Like he has interesting champion pool, interesting items, really smart player, and I think he could be good. The one thing I am worried about for Chris is, interestingly, that Voyboy left. I thought that if Voyboy stayed on this team would be top 2 for sure. I think they're top 2 still. I think they might be better than TSM.
There's insecurity in
Too
that
much,
now.
yeah.
Where previously you would have been definite. Now it's just like I'm not sure. Disney's like, yes, mid lane's a weak position, but one of the top 3 teams has a very good mid laner. So it's one of those things where it's just like you can get top 3 with not having a great mid laner, but you can't get 1 when you don't have a great mid laner.
Akali is finally back in the meta now, ironically. Right when he leaves, it's like finally back in the meta.
I hate that.
Like, he's been like, yo guys, I think Akali's gonna be good since like season 2, and now it's finally good and he left. It's the tragedy. Just one of the
yeah. No, I just like one of the things where I think this split they're gonna be 3rd because they can't play. They're not gonna have Piglet and Fenix for week 1. I'm not sure if they're gonna have them for week 2. And you only play 18 games now, so those two games or 4 games might be enough. Because I think Cloud9's going to be much better. They're probably only going to lose like 2 games, maybe 3.
Yeah.
And then I think you'll have TSM and Team Liquid with like 5 or 6 losses. So I think those two, not having Piglet and Fenix, and then having the adjustment period will be enough to make it so they'll be 3rd this split. Okay. I think summer split they could be 1st.
Yeah. I agree.
I think they're gonna need a few weeks to get the team because obviously I'm not just like they haven't played online together yet, so I'm not sure. Like obviously Piglet's not gonna have any problems playing online. Like it's obviously not like he won Worlds. I think he's gonna be okay. Phoenix might be a little bit of a different story, but I mean he's played online too. It's just like top to mid. Has that ever worked? Because they're very different.
He was good at mid and challenger. He was good at mid and challenger. That is an important thing to know. But yeah, I don't know.
I would almost feel like I would be more. I think Liquid would have better shot being Cloud9 than TSM.
Yeah, I think they do.
Because
TSM, I feel like TSM has. We'll go more in a bit, but TSM I feel like has kind of peaked. Like it's gonna be hard for TSM to improve.
It's very odd. Like we'll get to TSM in a minute because I think their players are in such different states. Like Lustboy's obviously peaked, but we'll get to TSM later. I don't want to.
Yeah.
TSM, I'm gonna be talking a lot.
So my final point. I forgot to mention my Void before I got. The one thing about Void is that the one thing I loved about that Curse team was, and you really felt it in the playoffs. They were legit be good in the playoffs. Yep. They got 3-0'd by Cloud9. Terrible. Okay, that was pretty stupid.
Yeah,
they got
3-0 Cloud9 was really good.
Cloud9 was really on point that series. I honestly don't know if Curse and TSM played. I think TSM would have had it, but I think Curse would have given them a run for their money. And Curse almost beat. They were winning by so much in Game 3 until they threw against LMQ too.
Dude, that was tragic. They got reverse sweep, right?
Yeah, they got reverse swept. It was a 2-3. It was pretty tragic. The thing about Curse that made them interesting was they were a team that really marched to their own beat. They never played the meta picks. They never played the meta picks. In fact, I will dominate. It's almost like he had like some kind of bet to like never play the meta. Like he would always like if you remember, they were the team that brought Pantheon and Wukong. That was recommended by Saint Vicious when he was the coach. Actually,
which by the way is good now.
Yeah,
Pantheon's
the
really good.
Pantheon's really good.
So I mean, that's gonna bode well for them.
That was those were picks that Saint Vicious recommended as coach, and I Will Dominate was still playing Vi much later. He was always a very good Hecarim, so perhaps Hecarim's coming back in the meta with some of these buffs. He was never a Lee Sin player. I don't think he ever played Lee Sin.
Summer. Oh, so that's the playoffs. I tell you as to what champions he played right
Yeah.
now. He played Nocturne a few times in playoffs.
Nocturne was another champion who's like he really marched his own.
He played
own
He played Evelyn in half of his games. Who played Evelyn except for him?
It was quite like strange. 12
Evelyn games, 7 Lease games, 3 Nudus. He had a Skarner game in there.
His Nudu was really good too.
Yeah. He lost 2 games at Rengar because he's an NA jungler.
The NA Rengar thing it's like a real deal. Like it's actually a real
true.
thing. It's crazy.
One of C9's 2 losses to TSM was with Meteos playing Rengar, I think.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I also played Fizz and he was like a burning trash can that game. So you have to be
the other one was that Fiddlesticks game. Meteos is like that random game where Meteos decided to play Fiddlesticks, and that was bad. Fiddlesticks jungle, nope. Yeah, well, the other thing, one of Dominate's strong picks was Elise. And Elise is not strong right now, but Pantheon is, so that will probably
balance it out a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing is that Voyboy though, I felt that Voyboy was a big part of their team comps in the sense that Voyboy's unique top to mid picks when they were working out, like eventually they began working out.
was really good.
Oh, that's a mid pick, but yeah, he had some good mid picks. His Yasuo and Syndra were really good in mid. Those are like probably the 2 champs that I would really say that were like classic mid champs. His Zed was okay. People thought his Zed would be really good. It was okay. Like, it wasn't bad.
Yasuo was also he was a top pick there for a little bit.
Yeah.
So I mean, it fits in the same mold of champions that he would have played.
Yeah, like if you look at his other ones, like Akali and Vlad were 2 that really come to mind.
But Syndra is a champion you only play in mid, and that was Another thing, Dominate's good at Nunu, right? You said that his Nunu. I think
his Nunu's like the best in the West.
Nunu's a really solid pick right now, especially with like Dragon. We haven't mentioned this once yet. Dragon is so important now.
Yeah, if you get the first Dragon, you win like 80% of the games. Yeah, like obviously, there's other things that come into that. Like obviously, like for example, if you're just shitting on them and you get the first Dragon, like you won the game already. But like,
now I mean, Curse was just like an average Dragon team last year.
If Phoenix wins a lot of his lanes and they can transition that into really good dragons, that might help out. Like just as a outside.
Yeah. It just also like Baron's so. I really like this is a tangent. I really like what Riot did with Baron because now Baron actually is Baron enhanced minions are stronger than like super minions. It's crazy. So like if you're behind, getting Baron's a really great way to prestige, but it also makes it so it's just like. It's not the just get this and you can win team fights. It's the biggest advantage. So I did a great job of that. But, like, Dragon's really important now. And I think that having such a strong bot lane like they're going to have, if Phoenix is good, they're going to be really good.
Yeah.
It all going to depend on him because, obviously, though you want a good mid and a good bot lane for... And Quas is decent at teleport, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so, I think his biggest strength is Quas's biggest strength is mostly just unique picks, just dueling.
Honestly, he's a very similar player to Dyrus.
Yeah, I think
as far as like team fighting,
he may well be much better by the end of the split. Like that guy's been growing rapidly.
Right. Yeah, but it's the same type of play style where he just causes mayhem.
Yeah.
It's not the I'm gonna go in there and be like Jax, like just kill everyone. He goes in there and just scatters everybody.
Yeah.
And then his team can and having that play style when you have like Piglet and especially like no one who is gonna get to Piglet.
They have a secondary carry now. Their main carry was probably Quas before this, and that was not working out for them.
No,
I mean it was working out for them in the sense that they won a lot of games, but not
good enough to beat a lot of teams.
But not
You need a hyper carry to beat the best teams. And who's gonna get to Piglet? Like Xpecial is one of the best zoners in the game as far as like from support perspective. Like he's really good. it's going to be really hard to kill Piglet in those team fights.
Yeah.
Especially with like the type of champions that I Will Dominate plays, like the Nunus and the Evelyn. Like Evelyn goes in and you have to focus her or you're gonna die. So
Yeah.
it's just like I don't know that like
They're
worse
looking like
than
a good
third.
team,
They won't be
basically.
worse than third, but if they won the split, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, all they have to do is be top 6 by the end, and they'll make the playoffs. And I think by the time the playoffs come around, I think they'll have probably figured out their communication and everything.
Yeah.
And God, I wouldn't want to face them.
Yeah, they're looking tough.
So,
any like last words on them, or man, did we miss anyone? Like special? No, special we talked about like on the CLG part, and then
we
talked
talked about
like,
special a lot because there's not. What else can you say about it? He's the best support in North America. He's the best support in the West. And like, yeah, no, he's just really good.
Yeah, I Will Dominate. We talked about,
and especially like, I didn't mention this with CLG. I can't wait to see how Kalista fits into competitive. I think Kalista is going to end up being somewhat broken. Because think about the stuff you could do. Like, picture this play, okay? You have a Piglet and X Special. Piglet's on Kalista, and X Special's on Thresh. So, Piglet throws X Special. X Special leaves his lantern behind. So, thrown X Special, hooks enemy champion. Pulls, like, you could just...
There's a lot of things
playmaking you can do with Kalista's ultimate.
And it's a very versatile champion.
It's very dependent on how good the support is. Because all Kalista does is press R, and then you hope your support makes the right decision. Because, like, sometimes, like, have you played against Kalistas in solo queue?
Yeah, a little bit.
Sometimes you'll have a Kalista, like, use their ultimate, and, like, they're like, yeah, my support's going to engage. And then the support thinks that they want to run.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
It's going to be much better competitive than in solo queue because you can actually talk about, like, hey, I'm using my ultimate, I want you to engage.
That's a really good point.
Like, fifth shot, is he going to engage or is he going to use this to get away and leave me hanging high and dry?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I totally know what you mean.
I think, like, because Piglet was really good on Vayne too, right? Wasn't Piglet a strong Vayne player?
Yeah, he was really well known for his Vayne, his Caitlyn, and his Misfortune were the 3 picks he was most famous for.
And yeah, I think Vayne mechanics translates to Kalista because it's the same kind of deal. Like you're a champion that's short range that depends on mobility to stay alive and kiting. And while Piglet, Kalista has it built into a kit, but it's somewhat similar to Tumblr. I mean, I'm
looking up forward to the Afro double lift Kalista too.
I think Piglet X Special. That could be like I can't wait to see that brought out. Also, you can't lose an objective when you have Kalista. Like her, she deals like 2,000 damage to Dragon.
Oh yeah, the Ren.
Like, it's completely absurd. Like you knew with Smite can't outdamage Kalista. But yeah, that's all I have for Clickbait. So that leaves us with the top 2 teams.
Yeah. So TSM
is not.
You're going to talk a lot more about it, so you should go out first.
All right. So yeah, I've been following TSM forever. So my thing with TSM, like they lost Amazing. It's very odd. There's been a lot of there's been a lot of post-season love. Like I don't think people love Quas now, right?
I know what you mean.
He wasn't getting this love last summer. No one knew he was good. It wasn't until after the season where Monty said he was good, and like all these people say he was good. Now everyone's just like, yeah, no, Quas was really good. No one was saying that last summer, and so it seemed like all of a sudden now that TSM has Santorin, Amazing was really good.
Yeah, he wasn't that good.
Amazing spent most of his stats were really good, and like I think he was better than people thought. But he wasn't like a top. It's one of those things where all of a sudden Amazing was really good now that they have Santorin.
I felt that Amazing going to become Amazing was a top. Was he top 3? Okay, I felt like I think Helios was really good.
I'd say he was 4.
But I felt like a big part of Amazing getting good had to do with other people getting bad. Like Dexter and Crumbs were actually a lot ahead of.
Yeah,
they were actually much better than Amazing for much of the split, and they just fell off a cliff. So I felt that had more to do with Amazing was actually he was actually I hesitate to say he was a bottom jungler in but he basically was
he was 4th to 6th.
Yeah, he was not.
So in the playoffs, though, because remember, NA had for some reason that month-long break between the regular season and playoffs,
Yeah.
which was really weird. He
Yeah.
picked up Nunu in that span.
Yeah, that
and
helped
his
a
Nunu
lot.
with the playoffs block because TSM has always had Nunu as a pocket pick. Like Odd One played it to some success because
Santorin's a really good Nunu.
right, and TSM's always had a player jungler that had Nunu as a pocket pick. So Amazing picking up helped them a lot because it helped them with their objective control. But yeah, no, Amazing leaving. Honestly, you know more about Santorin than I do because I know you follow the challenge.
Yeah, I'll
team
talk a
more.
little bit about
So
him later
what do you
on.
think about Santorin?
Okay, so I think that the best way to discuss Santorin is just to compare him to Amazing, the person who will be replacing. Amazing is
both
better than
decent
Santorin.
names.
Amazing is better than Santorin right now.
Okay.
But the interesting thing
Is
about
that
Amazing,
mechanically?
mechanically,
Because here's the thing with my
Amazing's mechanics.
my thing with
Amazing's
TSM.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Go. No, you go first. You go
My
first.
thing with TSM is it's not always about how good the player itself is. It's like TSM has a system.
Yeah, of like camping the mid
It's
lane.
like top laners on an island, they hold their own. They always have Rayman did that beforehand. Dyrus does it. Bot lane until the reason TSM had struggles because the bot lane wasn't hold up their own. The bot lane's supposed to be dominating, allowing the jungler to focus mid lane. So it seems to me that Santorin and Bjergsen have really good synergy. They've been spamming solo queue together nonstop for like 3 months.
That's
now.
a good sign for sure. Like that's actually
Right.
like just in and of itself, that's just a good sign.
Right, that was the problem with CLG. Like Dexter and Link weren't doing that, but Santorin and Bjergsen, they do it all the time.
So
So
that's a good sign in and of itself. Like
right.
just even if Santorin was just like a shit tier player, he isn't. But just
The
even if he
synergy
was just
will
a
be
terrible
there.
player, just playing with duo Q, which is that act, just from a common sense standpoint, that will help you out.
Yep.
So let me go back to what I was talking about. So the thing about Amazing is Amazing's a player who I want to like go in depth on and discuss like perhaps in an article later because I think he's actually one of the more interesting players to have played the game. The thing about Amazing is that when they picked him up for TSM, he had two problems. The first problem was that he has a very specific style that he likes to play. The real reason, like when people say that Amazing had a narrow champion pool, it's true. Like if you look at this, he likes playing Lee Sin and Elise, and the champion he ended up picking up well was Nunu. His Kha'Zix wasn't very good. Like his Kha'Zix, like he would like kind of like jump in and then like he'd kind of like die, and he'd be like, "All right, guys, like back to the drawing board."
He didn't understand how isolation worked.
Yeah, it was
So
kind of
he
weird.
he would jump into 4 people, and that's
That's
like
actually the best way to
30% of your
explain it, like-
damage. He didn't understand how isolation worked. It's like, oh look, 4 people, I got this. He'd jump in and deal no damage because no one was isolated.
But
So, yeah.
the thing about him was he was a great counter jungler. But the thing about his counter jungling was that the Diamond Prox is the best counter jungler of all time, and Dandy. Like when you're already in that like stratosphere of names,
It
like
doesn't matter which
state,
one.
yeah.
They're both really
Anyways,
good.
they were the best counter junglers of all time, and they did so in a team context. Like when you think of like the classic Diamond Proc counter jungles,
They
it's
had
never
support.
just Diamond Proc. It's like Alistar or like Edward's Alistar, like famous for just coming in and like he fucked up Locust on that one play, and people were like, "Oh my god, like what is
Right.
even happening?" Or
He had the
Dandy.
communication with his team. There's always someone there to back him up.
Dandy, like in fact, one of Pawn's biggest strengths was that he became that buddy for Dandy to follow him around, which freed up Mata to like ward on the other side of the map. But the thing about Amazing was when he played for Copenhagen Wolves, he had Coutard and Young Buck. That's like the worst solo lane combination ever to play the game, possibly. Like they're terrible. Like I mean, no, that's not. Well, it's wrong to say they're terrible because
They're
I think
bad in the context of the LCS when you're talking about players who are the very best in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Right.
it's wrong to just straight up say they're terrible, but they had some, and they also had some serious problems. Like Young Buck's champion pool was a serious problem. Coutard was a very mechanically weak player at Europe's most demanding position. So
Right.
amazing counter jungle. He was so good. He's really good at dueling the other team's jungler and killing him. And you'd be like, wow, amazing. Like, he's really good. But the thing is,
He'd
he was
probably
actually...
be really good now. I feel like the new jungle would probably be really good for him. The
He
new
was a-
smite items.
Yeah, but the thing is, one, he was a very poor ganker. Like, the truth is he was actually quite poor ganker. He was good at ganking the bot lane on occasion, because, you know, to snowball Forgiven, but he wasn't even that good at ganking bot lane. It would really just be like Forgiven poke them down to like very low HP, and Amazing would come in and help them secure the kill. So he was a quite mediocre
Which is really bad when you play Elise and Lee Sin, who are like the two best early game gankers.
Like, he used them more as a vehicle for his dueling plays. That's why he was actually a good Nunu too. But
right.
it's like that's good, and like that's a respectable style of play, but it's not quite what TSM needed. And you could see that there were serious growing pains on that TSM squad. In fact,
they were in fifth place for 7 weeks.
Yeah, and
7 weeks.
And even when they were 5th place, if you remember, this was back when they were just shitting on those like the weaker teams of the LCS. And the thing was
like 10-0 against weak teams and like 3-10 against everyone else, something like that. Yeah.
But the thing is, I think part of it was when Loco came in, he really curbed the Amazing's playstyle, and he was like, "Yo, man, just camp mid and just gank." Like, Amazing actually complained about it in his post when he was leaving. He was like, "This wasn't really the style that I like to play." I don't know how that'll translate to playing with Xpeke, you know, who's had Cyanide with him the whole time. Like, just as a side note.
That's a big step down in smiting, too.
Yeah, Amazing was I'll get onto that later, but he was not a very good smiter. Like, he had obvious strengths. His great mechanics, great duelist, kind of a weak ganker. And number 2, I think this is another one of the things that come with repetitions, but he was kind of a choker. Like, he was not a very good smiter. Like, you would see him lose smite duels between like Kha'Zix and a Nunu. Like, if you remember, he would lose smite to Crumbs. Like, Crumbs would jump in on Kha'Zix and just flash out and steal the Baron. Yeah, and it'd be like, okay, man, like, and I don't know, he would also miss a lot of like Lee Sin Qs and cocoons on like clutch situations. He was not like, but in spite of all that, I think that if he stayed, he could have grown into a stronger player.
Right. I think the ganking thing was he doesn't make good decisions.
Yeah, it was a conceptualization problem.
Yeah, like it's the same reason when he jumps into team fights as Kha'Zix. Like, it's easy to play find champion, kill champ mentality. That's what he did in jungle. He goes and finds champions, kills it. That doesn't take a lot of like decision making.
Yeah,
it's a solitary goal. You go and do it. That's it. But like, when you have to make decisions of like when to engage, and that was something TSM lost because X Special is really good at engaging.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest problems.
So now they have Amazing, whose main job was engaging, because Lustboy's job was to protect.
And that it just wasn't what he wants to do. Like, if I was to build a good team for Amazing, the weird thing about Amazing is he's one of those players who's really helpful when your team is already good. Like, you'd
put him on old. The best team for him would have been like Old Mascot 5. He would have been like a lesser version of Diamond Cross.
Yeah, basically. Basically.
Yeah.
But so after framing him in that context, now to discuss Santorin. So one, TSM kind of got screwed over because all the teams broke the import rules and they had to pick up Santorin, who has legitimate strengths, but you know
he's 17. He has time.
Yeah, when he was playing on IEM, he was in Bjergsen prison, dude. What was Bjergsen doing? Like, he was just, like, people who said that it was Santorin's fault, it was kind of mind-blowing, because we were like, Bjergsen is literally feeding. Like,
it was weird. I think what happened is it might have started that Bjergsen had no idea how to play from being, like, how often do you think he feeds?
Yeah, no, like, almost never, yeah.
So he's probably just like, he probably kept coming back to lane thinking, like, I got this. I just made a mistake last time.
Oh my god.
It's that Soku mentality where Dyrus used to do it. He would, except not intentionally, he'd die. That's how you beat TSM in like
just by camping Dyrus. Not anymore. He actually addressed that.
No, he improved that a lot. But it's just like, what was it at the expansion tournament? Was it Chris? No, it was Macnoon who TP'd
Chris
the
was
bot.
really
Macnoon TP'd the bot lane and then died. Like he TP'd the bot lane to cover the tower and just died for free.
Oh my god!
Like that would have been
Final 5. Yeah.
The thing with Santorin doesn't need to be the player Amazing.
He doesn't need to be
better than Amazing.
Yeah, to be better than exactly. He can have. I think his mechanics. Santorin has really great mechanics.
He plays champions. He plays Lee Sin. He plays.
Yeah, he does. For me, the 3 big champions that I would attribute to Santorin are Nunu. Nunu is the champion that comes to mind immediately when I think of Santorin, but perhaps unfairly, because I've heard that, like, I've seen his Rengar is really good. People say his Rengar is really good. People usually say his Rengar and Lee Sin are his signature champions. So that's like his 3 pool. That's like his main pool. I think he'll be fine.
I don't know.
He's decent on all other champions. The thing about Amazing was that after I don't think Amazing was his champion pool wasn't as bad as people said it was. It's just that after Amazing lost on like a few like weird picks, if you know, he played like Volibear and Jin. People were like, this is a clear weakness of their team, and he ended up winning only one game in 10 tries on a non.
Well, here's the thing. If you're winning almost every game on Elise, and the enemy lets you have Elise,
yeah, you should just
why
have
would you pick anything else?
Yeah, the thing is that he wasn't that like. It's just that I feel like Amazing. Once the weakness was revealed, people were like, "Yo, let's just go after this guy on that level."
Right.
And like,
he was. Well, he also announced his best champion.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
Before the split began, and then Cloud in the first game split, Cloud9 banned all three.
Yo, it was a good head fake, dude. He told them he could play Evelyn and Kha'Zix when he really couldn't. No, I was kidding. I think anyways. That was kind of a cheap shot because I do think that he'll be a good player with Origin, and we'll see what happens there.
Well, you know my feelings on Origin. I don't think they're gonna make it.
Yeah, back to Santorin though. That'll be a breakdown for another day. Back to Santorin. So he's really good on those 3 champions. He's the thing about Santorin is that I feel like he's a player who doesn't have a style. He just does what he needs to win. When he was playing on C9E, when he was playing on C9E. He replaced Ku. He was thrown into a really shitty situation because if you remember, Ku was playing with him the entire. He literally never practiced them and just played the expansion tournaments with them. Of course he'll look of course he'll look terrible.
Right. Yeah.
And on Coast, he was a very versatile ganker. Like he can go top, mid, bot. He's not really a ganker who likes to focus on one lane. He did focus on bot lane because Coast had that like don't mash me sheep identity, but he can gank all lanes. He's a good ganker, fairly decent counter jungler. I think he has a lot of room to grow. The one thing that really kills me on Santorin is just that you have to judge him in the category of TSM wanting to become the best team, and in that sense,
why we did the same for COG. Like you enter the season with the goal of winning. Yeah,
and in that sense, maybe not the best pickup because all the other teams were able to circumvent the rules somehow. But for all we know, that was weird. Like that was just weird.
TSM and COG are the teams that they don't let break the rules. Apparently, fines for days. That was
just weird. But no, I think that.
But who could they have gotten, really?
Who could they have gotten? So that's the thing. I mean, they probably could have. I don't know how much money TSM has. That's the one thing. Like, how much money does TSM? That's a black box in that respect.
It really is because everyone assumes there's all like, well, they're TSM, but I mean, they've actually mentioned in interviews before about their budget. They're like, they're talking about acquiring Lustboy. And
I remember. That.
He had Loco had to go to Regional to make sure they had the budget for it.
It's like a black box. Like I don't know how to discuss it there, but I do think that like there are like better junglers out there than Santorin as a free agent pickup. Like just off my head.
He was probably the best one available in NA. And because like Thorin's great plan was that they were going to take crumbs from Dignitas. That was like his whole. Do you remember that?
Yeah, if they did that, they'd be so good. Like they would actually be really good right now. They're gonna trade.
This is why Crumbs on TSM would be good, because then Bjergsen wouldn't have to be the shot caller.
Oh yeah, I don't know
if Bjergsen without having the shot call.
Yeah, his spring
split. Like, dude, those games he styled on people. He was just like, it was literally like watching Faker play against solo queue people. I'm not saying Bjergsen's on Faker's level because he's not, but
no. Hauntzer's the next Zoro. And then Phoenix is whites, and these guys are all going to be really good, right?
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's just like, if Santorin's young, so I don't think he can do this yet, and TSM's already invested a lot of time into making.
Yeah, TSM is a veteran team right now. Like with Dyrus and Lustboy, like you can't be like, yo, maybe Santorin will be good in a few years, like.
Right, but they've invested a lot of time in Bjergsen to be the shot caller, so I don't know if they'd be willing to change it. But I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the split, they had more of a split style, have Santorin do the shot calling in the early game.
I think he did some on Coast, if I remember correctly. I think he did a lot of that on Coast.
Have him do it in the early game to allow Bjergsen to just focus on lane, and then Bjergsen can take over later.
Yeah.
Except the problem is, like, when you're doing objectives, you need the jungler to do it. I just think, like, TSM's best case scenario will always be if they can get somebody to shot call instead of Bjergsen.
Yeah.
But my thing at TSM, like, I'm just going to go down their roster real quick. And I'm going to start Bjergsen because I gave him a 10. I said he was the best top lane, best mid laner.
He's the best mid laner in NA for sure.
Right, but some people, I mean, it's true that Zhao was better for the split during the summer split, and then Bjergsen was better at the playoffs. I do think Zhao isn't going to get better at this point. He's already, I mean, he's been around for a while. I think he's reached his peak. He might stay his peak, and his peak is really good, but I don't think, I think Bjergsen has room to improve, where I don't know if Zhao does. Because Bjergsen just still, I mean, as much as, like, he's been playing for almost, like, 2 years now, and in the LCS, first in the EU LCS, then in the LCS, but he's still only, like, 18. Like 18 or 19, so it's one of those things where I think he could develop better, but I mean, the guy's champion pool is huge.
Yeah.
He can play any champion at the LCS level, any mid laner. Like,
yeah, that makes me quite surprised why people are complaining that we gave him a 10. Like,
he got a pentakill on Karma.
Like, do people out there really like, I mean, do people really think that Curse? I mean, sorry, do people really think that Bjergsen isn't, like, one of the best mid laners in the West? Like, I don't know, like, who?
Well, like, no, this is why. It was a problem of people overvaluing their loss to Unicorns of Love. And here's the thing is, did you know that after SKTT won Worlds, they lost to Samsung Blue 2-0 in the World Cup and the WCG qualifiers? 2-0, like 2 weeks after.
Yeah, the offseason is not a very accurate representation of what's going on.
And then a month later, they swept OG and Winter. So it's one of those things where it's like, offseason is not a good judge. Lustboy had just come back from Korea. I think Loco was still in Korea, or had just come back from Korea. Like, they hadn't played together. So now, granted, that's a team thing. I have no excuse for him getting outlaned by Power of Evil. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. I just think Bjergsen is. I would prefer to go with the 100 games before that, where he was awesome. Yeah. And, like, say, like, oh, he was bad in these 2 random games at, like, IEM San Jose. Like, TSM qualify for, even if TSM wins IEM San Jose, I don't think they go to the World Championship. I don't think TSM cares. I don't think they care about IEM. Why would they? Why would they do what Cloud9 or Dignitas did last year and take a break from their season to go to the IEM World Championship? It clearly didn't work for Dignitas. And, you know, so yeah, I think Bjergsen's really good. His champion pool is absurdly large. He can play anybody.
Wait, it didn't work for Gambit either. Going to IEM was pretty bad for Gambit. Dude, I am the killer of careers. We found it out.
Yep. Don't go to IEM. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So it's one of those things where the guy's really good. I mean, he randomly picked up Xerath just for, like, for summer regionals, and he just dumpstered on everybody with him.
Just great.
Xerath is, like, the gayest champion of all time.
The one thing about oh yeah, the one thing about Bjergsen is that he's really good, and I think he has a lot of the carry potential, but you can clearly see that there is still room to grow in his game. So maybe in that sense,
it's a decision-making thing, I think.
Yeah, maybe in that sense, a full rank, like a full 10 rank, was too high. But, like, I mean, like, there's no one else in the West who can really keep up with him. So
nope, not at least in NA. I think in EU he'd at least have a few, but not in NA.
Yes, he'd have rivals in EU for sure.
Yeah, and like going down this, like, the other contentious pick was Dyrus, because I actually had Dyrus above Quaz. And I think by most measures, Quaz was the better top laner throughout the summer split, because Dyrus is really consistent, right? Like, whatever the meta is, he can play. Like, you don't survive for 4 seasons without being pretty adaptable.
Yeah.
You know, his Renekton was really good back when Renekton was popular, and then he adjusted in the summer split. And heck, he was able to play mid Karthus in season 3 when they needed him to, so that they had magic damage while Reggie was playing Zed. But Dyrus is, like, he's the emotional heart of that team. Like, do you remember the 5th game against LMQ? When, like,
that's actually a growth in and of itself. He was never really the big, like, leadership
he
figure.
dumpstered Ackerman that game.
Yeah.
Like, he literally just, like, slam dunked Ackerman into a dumpster. As, like, Dr. Mundo. And it's funny because historically, Dr. Mundo was, like, that champion that Dyrus would get camped and die on. Because Dr. Mundo is easy to kill pre-6.
Yeah.
So he would... Dr. Mundo was the champion. They put Dyrus on it because it scales on late game. And then he would inevitably get camped and die a time or two because he's an easy kill under the tower. He has no CC. All you have to do is ignite him and he dies. One of his damage ability takes health. And you know what's really stupid? A lot of people leave that on. They'll be under their tower just trying not to die, and they don't turn it off. It's like, trust me, you're not going to kill the other guy, so turn it off and save the health. It's one of those like really things that bothers me, is people, Dr. Mundo's leaving that on when they should really be focusing on not dying. So I think Dyrus arbitrarily has these games where he just puts TSM on his back. It happens like twice a split. Yet there's another game last split when he was on Shyvana. But Dyrus is really integral to how TSM plays because this is every single TSM game that they win. Dyrus is farming up well in the top lane, going even. He walks down to Baron, and then he plays champions that cause the enemy team to scatter. Like, he was always a good Renekton. He was always a good Shyvana. He just dives in there and makes everybody run away. So he causes mayhem. And Quaz has the same playstyle, which is why I think they're different. They're similar players right now. I mean, I think Quaz sometimes can be a little bit over a carry player, but that's pretty much one of the big things with Dyrus is, like, he's so integral how TSM plays because TSM's really focused around those early team fights around objectives. Yeah. Dyrus will walk down. Sometimes teleport. Dyrus is
his
teleport.
TP/roam usage from the top lane is one of the best.
His teleports aren't great. His roams are good though. And
his teleports his teleports are serviceable. I think that like the key thing is that he's there. He's like not rarely ever.
He got a bad rep because people are like, well, he's not as good as Looper at teleport. Well, no one's fucking as good as Looper at teleport. Yeah, he's the best at it. Like he's the best teleport user in the top lane. Like no one's
in the region. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think Dyrus is the best in the region at teleport.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Because like Zion doesn't play it really. He splits it. I think
he uses it more to split, and then like he
teleports the lane. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Balls was actually we'll talk about it more, but Balls was actually not as good in the teleport meta as he was in the old Ignite meta. Like his teleport usage was shaky.
In my opinion, Balls had his worst play of his career last split.
Yeah, it was still really good, but
yes, worse in.
Worse in like a Balls context.
Dyrus is so important to TSM. He's really important to how they play, and that's why I rate him higher. He would almost never lose lane, at least not domestically. He doesn't lose lane domestically.
Yeah.
He will lose lane in international competition sometimes, but domestically he just doesn't lose lane. So I just think he's really good.
Oh, last player we need to talk about is Wildturtle.
Yep, that's fine. Okay, so we did Santorin, right? We did a lot of that.
Santorin. Dyrus we just talked about.
Yep, so
Bjergsen we talked. I mean, Lustboy, there's not much to say really. He's just like.
I have one thing for Lustboy, and that's it. But okay. Wildturtle, we have a bit to say about.
Yeah.
Wildturtle is he is like the. Normally, when people say X Factor, they mean like a good thing, but Wildturtle's X Factor is just like. I do think he needs credit for the fact that he was playing with.
We also underrated Wildturtle pretty badly. I think we gave him like a 6.5. He's not.
I gave him a 7. I think
I gave him a 7 too.
I also gave him a 5 though.
Oh, what?
You gave him a 6, but
there are some people who I think are. Oh, I gave him a 6. Yeah, I think he's around the 6-7 range. I think he's.
The thing with Wildturtle is like.
He's average right now.
X Special,
average right now.
Lustboy and Glebe all had different play styles.
Yeah.
So I think. We can use that as an excuse for last split.
Yeah.
But he's had 4 or 5 months with Lustboy now. Plenty of time to be coached by Loco, who's supposed to be really good at coaching 80 carries and bot lane. So, like, the gloves are off. Like, I think if Wildturtle has a bad split, I think he's going to be replaced. Because Reginald is not known for... Like, he'll pull the trigger.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. Like, I mean, for all we know, we could see a Wildturtle renaissance. But here are some factors as to why I think that is unlikely to happen. Like I thought I gave him a 7, maybe I gave him a 6, but whatever. So, what happens is that guy during his peak, who Wildturtle is as a player was disguised by his champion pool. And what I mean by that is that his champion pool was Draven, Twitch, Caitlyn. Like I'm talking about season 3 Wildturtle, right?
Yep.
And those are the
Corky.
champions that you think about when you think of Wildturtle, or you think of like those like lane smashers like Graves, Lucian, like those guys. He was going. He played a lot of bursty champions basically, and like what happens is when you're playing a bursty champion, it's like your support CCs them and then you burst them down. X Special was the best support at landing those hooks, getting those stuns off on Annie, getting those engages. Wildturtle just comes in and bursts them down. The two things happened. One, his support became not as good as engages. Lustboy has always been more of a peeling support. Like with Captain Jack, he is aggressive. He takes the step forward. He likes to poke and harass.
Right.
But he's not the all-in type that.
No, and the thing is, Wildturtle always needed someone to rein him in, and it's kind of hard to do when there's a language barrier.
Yeah, I think that is a problem.
So because X Special, like you're gonna listen to X Special, like the guys earned the respect, but it's hard. For, like, how is Lustboy gonna be like Wildturtle? Don't do that.
Yeah, no. And another thing is like the champion meta shifted out of that like bursty style, and when he played that bursty style, he was always an amazing team fighter. Like people seem to think that he shifted. People seem to think he shifted from like a lane dominant AD carry into a team fight centric AD carry. That never happened. He shifted from being legitimately the best AD carry of the region into an AD carry who could only team fight because the champion was moved out of favor. Like, come on, man. Like, the Wildturtle style, you're not going to play that on Kog'Maw. Like, if you remember, the only champion who was able to perform extremely well on in playoffs was Tristana, who is that bursty type of AD
right,
carry.
and that's because TSM's really good at that protect the Tristana cop.
That's another thing, too. But, like, I mean, his Twitch, after they nerfed Twitch's laning burst, he was never a good Twitch. He went from being a great Twitch, quite mediocre Twitch.
And Twitch was his signature champion at the 2013 World
Championships. It's because they nerfed away what he was like really good on it about, and he became just a team fighter. He became a good team fighter on Twitch. He always was, but he wasn't able to just make the. He still tried to he tried to make that like play where he just like stealths in and explodes guy on Twitch, and like, he'd come out and try to shoot him, and then it'd be like, wait, I'm like doing like half as much damage as I thought I'd be. He'd be put into a pretty scary situation. But no, I wouldn't be surprised to see a Wildturtle Renaissance. I also wouldn't be surprised to see the last days of Wildturtle. Like it's really interesting. Hard to evaluate that player.
It's hard to believe he's been here for 2 years.
Yeah, he still seems like a youngster. A lot of mitigating factors too. Like I mentioned, like the champion pool, the support switches. Yeah. But like still, at the end of the day, just based on the results of what you're seeing in games, he's become a weak laner and a great team fighter. Yep. From what he used to be, and I'm hoping he can pick it up. But who knows? Like he might.
I agree. Now, Lustboy, the thing with Lustboy is he's not the mechanical carrier that X Special is going to be.
Yeah.
And maybe not even on Afro's level, but the guy's vision control is absurd.
Yeah.
There's this great myth with Bjergsen that like he got better at shot calling at the summer regionals.
He just got more information. Like
it's easy to be a good shot caller when you can see the entire freaking map.
Actually, quick pause though. He did. I want to give him some.
I think there was some improvement.
He made some. TSM did make some pretty. The Samsung White Series, Game 3. A lot of TSM fans think that Game 3 was like oh my god, TSM is gonna make a. I kind of feel that was kind of sketchy. Samsung White was kind of trolling around that game. But Game 4, TSM was making some really good calls.
They were. I actually thought they were gonna force a Game 5. Both TSM and Cloud9 actually. I thought they were gonna force Game 5s there for a while because Cloud9 fought high mind game the hell out of. He mind gamed the hell out of Blue.
Well, there were 2 games where High had a chance to win the game for Blue. It didn't happen, but he put them in position. TSM, the Game 3, honestly, Game 3, I felt that Samsung White was just trolling them.
Here's the thing, they trolled in the picks. But if you think about in Season 3, this is why I think the West and North America improved. In Season 3, SKT1 was able to troll in picks and win.
Okay, yeah.
So the difference is, and the thing is, like, they trolled in picks, but they still tried in the game. And TSM, like, it's not like they barely won. They won that Game 3 really hard. Like, they snowballed the lead very well. So it's not like...
what happened was they trolled in picks, but, I mean, I agree that they snowballed the game pretty well. And I don't think that it was like Samsung White was, like, giving them the win. But I do think that, like, making really bad picks, they were invading with Kassadin and I think Kog'Maw. And it was like, all right, man, like, I'm going to use that W. And it's like, I get him. I silenced him, except I don't have it anymore. And it was like, okay, this is not ending well.
You forget, it didn't even have the silence.
Yeah, right. Like, this is not ending well. But no, I thought that But no, I felt that Game 4 was Bjergsen was really shining with those shot calls. They almost backdoored the inhibitor. I don't know if they could have won after that, but that would have been really funny if it happened.
Yeah, it certainly was better than I don't know, but then
it's better than what they had
that
before.
game.
It's certainly better than what they had before. Like
they had the game against SK though, with that really awful call.
Oh yeah, that was pretty bad. Oh,
that was really bad.
That was
like
really bad.
People tried to use the game as a reason why they think as proof that SK would have beat TSM out of the groups. TSM had to throw like 9 times.
Yeah, that was
for SK
such
to win.
bad shot calling.
Like TSM made like 9 throws, and SK still almost lost. So it's the gap between TSM and SK. I think was actually pretty big.
Really?
Yes, because have you seen that game? There's throw after throw after throw after throw, and SK didn't know how to close games, which is weird because SK was supposed to be good. They were the Cloud9 of EU.
I thought that what happened was, I thought that just one game in particular, it had more to do with like the Svenskeren ban and other things. SK was playing very uncharacteristically. If you remember,
yeah, they were.
Like that's why I kind of hesitated when you say there was a large gap. I really think that they should have played at that specific time. Yes, I really actually hope for like a good series between them to find out.
Also, I feel bad.
Interesting group of teams.
Was it Kixis? Who was the sub that SK brought in?
Delius.
They brought him in, and then he got...
Yeah, that sucks.
I feel so bad for him. Like, he was just trying to help SK out, and he got dumped by Unicorns of Love.
That was actually kind of weird.
I felt bad
for him. Kiki's is good. Kiki's is good.
All right. Yeah, Lustboy's vision control is really good.
Oh, yeah.
It's better. It's best of any support, and I would say even the West, not just NA, the West. Like, you know the famous example, the RNGesus.
Oh yeah,
TSM versus Cloud9, when everyone's just like, TSM only won that fight because of a minion and a crit. The minions only follow when there's a ward in the book.
Yeah, it was the ward. No,
right when that fight started. Yeah, Lustboy dropped a ward.
50% chance of critting. There's like a 50% chance of critting.
Yeah, so it's not like it
was still quite 50-50 game. Like, right. It was a close game. Of course, it was a very close game.
Right, and it's not like in lane when you have your 1% crit rate.
Yeah.
That lucky. Like, he had Infinity Edge and Static shit.
Yeah.
You're going to get some crits.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that one.
So, like, and also, like, I think that, like, High was about to be resuscitated from GA. He had, like, so he would have had, like, 600 health. I think Meteos was still alive with, like, 500. Like, people just like, oh, well... Sneaky wasn't gonna 1 versus 4 that. Like, I'm sorry. Like,
no, I like that example as an example of how close the series was.
Yeah.
I don't like it as an example of Cloud9 should have won. Because like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
But it shows just like, no, that was possible. The minion didn't give them vision on Sneaky. It was the ward in the bush. So it's one of those things where it shows like Lustboy has really nice vision control, and I think that's a big thing for TSM because it helps. Their biggest weakness is shot calling, and the more big vision control they have, the better the shot calling is going to be. And I think that's probably all is that all we had for TSM?
Yeah, that's all 5 of their players that we've broken down.
I would be really. I don't know. I think Team Liquid could finish first. I don't know if TSM could finish first.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I just feel like Dyrus and Lustboy are you know what you're getting from them. Bjergsen can improve. Wildturtle. The thing about Wildturtle is, Wildturtle can improve, but I feel like I personally think it's more likely that he'll decline. I think it's possible that we'll see a renaissance. I'm hoping for it, but
I'm interested. Like, who are they gonna go for though? Honestly, like, if I'm
TSM, they can't bench him either. It's weird.
If I'm TS, who do you bench him for?
Maybe Nantanso.
Nian was really good at expansion tournament.
Like, but it was against challenger teams. Like, quick pause. Like, Wildturtle, for all we know, Wildturtle could just stomp challenger teams. Like, you know what I mean?
But
like,
he also played top until, like, 3 months ago.
Yeah, that's true.
So, like, he played AD carry, like, a few years ago. But still, like, Nian had, like, 15 kills in, like, 3 or 4 games or something absurd like that. He was also, like, Nian's Corki's really good. Corki's really good. But, cause, like,
I'm excited to see the new AD meta just in general. Like, it seems like a lot of champions are
right. I don't think, because, like, TSM's not gonna get as lucky as last time. That's true.
Yeah,
like they replaced Chaos with Wildturtle and he got a Penta with Caitlyn, and it was just like.
It's hard to find that new talent out there. I think there is a lot of talent out there in NA, but I don't know if that talent is as good as Wildturtle. I mean, he's still top 10. Like, he has like 3 accounts in the top 10. You know, like
his mechanics are there. His mechanics are clearly there. You don't get 3 counts in the top 10 challenger on accident. And the thing is just like, so I don't know what his decision making will never be good.
Yeah, and I feel like he just doesn't. The thing about it is.
About that, guys. Bit of an internet issue. We're back.
Okay, so the player who I wanted to really talk about was I think that Wildturtle. No, so were we talking about Wildturtle?
Yeah, we were. Yep.
Yeah, a Wildturtle would be a difficult player to replace, and I felt that part of his solo queue stuff. He's a great solo queue player. He's really good, but the champions. A lot of times, the champions you play in solo queue and the champions you play in competitive just aren't even the same. It just has another point.
True.
Like there's a few caveats to him. Like I said, it's. I think we need more information. Like I'd like to see another split before we either put the nail in the coffin or either say, "Oh, you guys were all wrong. He's still just as good."
Yeah.
Like it's an information thing.
He's probably top 5 at the position in NA still. So
yeah,
I mean,
still top 5
like,
for sure.
He's just like.
It just seems like I think the real reason why people say he's
better
declining. The real reason people say he's declining has to do with him. Just has to do with how great he was in season 3 and in the beginning of season 4. Like it's not bashing on him to say he declined because he's declined from like
a high
really
level.
good high level. People were really impressed with him. He was like a world-class AD carrying TSM super hard, and now he isn't carrying them as hard.
Here's my thing. I don't think Wildturtle is going to get any worse than he was last split.
Yeah.
But I think the worst case is what he is right now. And TSM won last split with this roster, except that the Santorin plays amazing.
Yeah.
So they're not going to have this huge fall off.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, I agree with that.
So that's pretty much all we have about TSM. They're TSM, like they've been top 2 every split. So until that changes, you have to assume they're going to be top 2.
Yeah, you have to pay the respect out to them in that sense. I agree.
And now for number 1,
Cloud9. So Cloud9. The one thing that annoys me about Cloud9 that I want to talk about right off the bat, as I mentioned, is Cloud9. The discussion has become somewhat polarized on Cloud9, where there's one group of people who think they don't have a lot of individual skill, and there's another group of people who think they have very great individual skill, and it's kind of interesting in that sense because, so okay, let me put some context in this. So a lot of people were upset that we ranked Lemonation really low. Actually, okay, you guys probably ranked him a little bit high.
Those guys gave him a 6.
Really? Okay. I think maybe he could be a little bit better than a 6. Maybe he's like a 7. But at the same time, like, is he like? I mean, he's clearly like one of the weaker players on that team. Like Sneaky is doing so. Like if you watch the laning phase, Sneaky is sometimes literally just trading for 2 people. Like he'll corky bomb one person and he'll shoot the other guy with the Sheen prod. Yep. And then like Lemon is okay, but Lemon's style is pretty much just to walk up and then hit the skill shot. He walks in as close as possible and hits the skill shot. Like he himself acknowledges that he's not that mechanically strong. I think he could have been a 7. That's kind of low. Like just to think of conceptualizing other supports in the region. But I wouldn't be surprised to see like Bunny or Sheep. I wouldn't be surprised if Bunny or Sheep was better than Lemon.
Yeah, I agree. And I guess the thing with Lemon is, I think his move over to coach eventually is as much as this is a circle jerk topic, right? He's going to become coach. I think it's somewhat inevitable, just because that's his biggest strength. Yeah, is like being able to the picks and bans. He had the famous notebook, but the coach is part of that now. So I would, in my 10 predictions for 2015, one of them that got a lot of got a lot of comments was that I predicted C9 was going to make a roster change. That was after High said they would never make one.
Right after High said they would never make a roster change, there was an announcement that they talked to Dade about replacing High. Did you see that? Like, did you see that? It was on the Daily Dot. There was a rumor that they were going to bench High for Dade. Well, thank God they didn't, because Dade is looking terrible in China right now. He's looking really bad.
Well, that guy, Dade was. I think he might have been a bit of a flash. And Blue did. I think Dade might have been a bit of a flash in the pan because he was bad in 2013. So if he's bad in 2015, that just makes him a guy. He was really good last year, though. He was really good
last year before Worlds too. To be fair,
all of last year he was really good.
The only times Dade has played poorly, honestly, the only time Dade. So that's why I kind of resent the flash in the pants, because the only time Dade really played poorly was right now in China he's playing completely terribly, but he was playing really bad. He played really badly at that one World.
Because I think he's there for a paycheck.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But so it's a good thing Cloud9 didn't get him. But see, that's the thing. Like Cloud9, a lot of Cloud9 fans get really mad when you say that Cloud9 has a low mechanical ceiling. And I think that saying they have a low mechanical ceiling is unfair, just in the sense that, yeah, there's other teams in NA with lower mechanical ceilings than them. But, like, why exactly does Cloud9 lose to these, like, foreign teams, right? Like, you can either lose to foreign teams on a teamwork basis, or you can lose them on a mechanical basis,
It's not
right?
teamwork.
It's certainly not a teamwork basis.
Cloud9, like, do you remember their series against the games against Nijin? High mind game the hell out of him. He'd go to top lane. He went to top lane, right? And he'd farm a wave and then kind of disappear.
Yeah.
And then reappear.
And he'd get the tower. People, oh my god, I hate that guy. It was so funny. Yeah, he
did the same to blue too.
It's certainly not. Yeah, they're certainly not losing because of a. They're not losing because of a team on a teamwork level. They're losing because some of their players aren't mechanically proficient at the very highest level of competition.
Right, and that's the argument high. And I think it's the caveat with Bjergsen too right now is. That's the thing, Bjergsen. In order for Bjergsen to be the shot caller TSM needs, that's going to mean an inevitable decrease in his ability to dominate. Because I think High could be, if High wasn't shot calling, I mean, his mechanics are good.
He has a somewhat narrow champion pool.
He does. Oh, it was really exposed against TSM at regionals. Like
his mechanics are good. Like they're good. Like they're above average.
Champions.
On specific champions, exactly. And
his Zed's really good, obviously.
Yeah, no, his Zed is really good. Like that's a champion you probably can't take away from him.
But he couldn't beat.
I don't think who else is
he
good.
Couldn't beat Bjergsen at all with any other champion. Like,
exactly.
He fed really hard. So that's like there's a clear wall there, but at the same time, just like I think Bjergsen's gonna run the same issue. You can't be the main shot caller and be the Bjergsen of Spring, of the Spring split.
I think that's partially true. I think that you can't do it without a lot of experience. Like there were some teams. Like let me put it that way then, because I don't want Wei Zhao, like famous for being like that really big. He played. Right. I mean, he was really good in season 4 too. I was gonna say Reaper, but like Reaper did decline from being a shot caller. But like there are some guys who were able to do both that role. But I think it requires
the ideal position.
It's also not ideal. I really do not think it's ideal. I agree. It's jungle or support.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's ideal
because they look at the map anyway.
The last thing. Okay, what else do I want to say? High. Another point of High. I wrote an article about this a while ago, but I think that High has some very unique strengths as a mid laner he brings to the table. And he's not a world-class mid laner in the sense that, no, High is not like a Dade, he's not a faker, but he can compete with them in certain contexts and situations, and he excels at moving the game into that specific context or situation where he thrives.
His game sense is phenomenal.
Like,
so that's the thing. Everyone wants to complain someone a faker. What makes faker so good isn't the mechanics. It's the fact that he combines those mechanics with this like absurd game sense. Like what High does. If High roams, the roam is going to get a kill and then a tower, or get a kill then a tower and a drain. Like he makes such good decisions. Yeah.
The other thing about High is he is that stopper player. Like we were talking about, Shifter isn't a stopper. High is literally the definition of a stopper player. Like you will see him with like 50 CS and he'll like somehow land a solo kill and then really fed 80 carry. Like that's a big part of why Cloud9 has, because he has such a sense of the moment, like the moment where he needs to make a stop. That's why I feel like it's a little unfair to criticize High. If anything, like I said this earlier, but if anything, if I was to build like an elite Western side, I would actually keep High. I'd keep High and Meteos, who are like the main components of that like shot calling unit, and then I'd put maybe 3 like upgraded mechanical players around, even though like I'd probably keep Sneaky too, and like Balls. I think Balls declined, but like he's still like near the top.
This is another circle.
I would replace Balls and Lemon.
But why not see if High can do the support position?
Yeah, that's something that Bjergsen talked about in that one Cloud9 article. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's also
GoldPer10.
That's another one of the Reddit circle jerks that High should replace Lemon. But I at least think it's.
There's some merit behind it, but
this leads to your thought about Cloud9, and whether they can win Worlds with the current roster.
They're not winning Worlds with the current roster. Like they just aren't. Like the thing is, it's weird because High is both one of their biggest strengths and a weakness. So in order to compensate for that weakness, I think they would need to replace some of their members who are like this is like a really absurd example, but like. Yeah, let's say maybe you could replace Balls with like someone who's better in top lane. Like I don't know who's better than Balls. Like Flame. Like completely, obviously a very, very, very like random example. And Flame can perfectly understand English or something like that. And like they get like a new guy, perfectly understands high shot calling. Like, okay, a more realistic example would probably be like maybe Freddy. I think Freddy's better than Balls, but
Probably,
like,
yeah. Or
well,
at
like
least he's more carry oriented.
yeah.
Balls
So like,
is Rumble though. Holy crap.
yeah, Balls' Rumble is really good. Maybe we should keep. I don't know.
They styled out. Like Rumble was not a pick at Worlds, and then Balls and Dyrus played him once each in
the groups.
And suddenly everyone was just like, "Oh shit!"
Oh, that champ's pretty good.
It's World. It's like it's a rule. Rumble's always viable at the World Championship.
Like Corky.
Because like,
Soaz, you know what's weird? Total side note, but Soaz had such a terrible Rumble in Season 4 Worlds, but he was like the best Rumble in Season 3 Worlds. Like he was better than Balls on Rumble. If you rewatch those games, he was carrying them against Royal Club on Rumble, and I was like, wow, like is that the same guy? That was so weird.
It's all what makes Balls so good at Rumble is like he knows how to manage the passive, which is really hard, but it's his ultimate placement's perfect.
Yeah, that's another thing.
He will split the enemy team and cut off like 1 or 2 people. And the problem is like Rumble's ultimate is just like, have you ever calculated the damage if you stand on it the whole time?
Yeah, it's like you're dead.
It's like 1,800 damage. Like it's and the thing is, it's one of those. Riot has a few things they need to improve with visuals. Rumble's ultimate's one of those things where the area of damage is wider than it looks on the.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Because like you'll be like, oh yeah, I'm off the red spot where the missiles landed, but you're still taking damage.
That's
and
really funny.
Like there's a few champions.
Like, he's really good at that. So I don't know.
Yeah, there's a few champions like that.
So I don't know. Like the thing I was gonna say was I just feel like you know, like that team is so good, but like this lineup clearly isn't perfect. They haven't won 2 world championships.
Right.
They've enjoyed some international success, most recently at the IEM. But like you can clearly tell that some of their players, they're good, but they could be better. Like that's all I'm saying. Like they could be.
Sneaky's really
better.
Good. He got.
I think I would I think Sneaky personally. I think Sneaky is the best AD carry in the West. Like he's better than just because of his.
He's I think Reckless's peak is very slightly higher.
Yeah.
Like
that makes
Reckless
sense.
dumps. Reckless is it Reckless or Reckless?
I think it's Reckless.
Reckless randomly dumpster deft in one game.
Yeah, that was actually really weird.
It was like really weird. It's just like, and that was so weird coming because there's which is the best AD carry in the world. Well,
yeah.
Reckless randomly dumpster deft in that one game. Uzi just there was no competition really. Uzi was obviously the best of everybody, but it was just like I don't. But Sneaky did well. Sneaky did well as well. So it's just
always
like,
at that like super high level. He's so consistent. Like you will never see him have a bad game. Even there are some games where bot lane loses, and partly because of Lemon, and partly because Sneaky makes a mistake. But even in those games where he makes a mistake, he's not feeding. He's really great at team fighting.
Yeah,
exactly. He's beginning to pick up that little like the thing that
target selection. It's all about picking the right targets in the team fight. Like they're going in the right order.
Yeah.
And Sneaky gets it. That's because there's 2 kinds of shot
best
callers.
traits.
There's macro, which is like the map moves, and micro, which is inside the team fights where you're deciding what to do. Like TSM's a team that's really good at the micro, and not good at the macro shot count. Cloud9's obviously good at both, but Sneaky's like.
He's also getting really good at that. Like I kind of call it the Def Name thing, where like even though Def Name played pretty badly at some games of Worlds, you would see them just shoot people from across the wall, and like. You will never lose the team fight if your AD carry is shooting them from across
It's the damage thing. What was that? He deals like 40% or 50% of his team's damage or something.
No, that was a Name. Name deals 50% of his team's damage. Or like it was either
Sneaky
Name or
was
Def.
up there.
Sneaky was
well.
actually Wildturtle had the most damage at Worlds from Western AD carry, but I think Sneaky was second. Not sure how Wildturtle came up that high though. That's actually like. Plays like Wildturtle's a great team fighter though, so
he played a lot of champions that would deal like AoE damage. Like his Corki was big, so it's one of the things where it's gonna count well because it's gonna deal 300 damage to one champion, and then 3 others. So it's gonna add up type of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
But I guess
Cloud9. I think Balls needs to step it back up. He actually had a pretty bad season, like for his own standards.
Right. No, that was definitely his worst. I think I would argue that Quas and Dyrus were both better than Balls last split.
Yeah, it looked like Balls shut the door on Dyrus in season 3. Like people are, oh yeah, Balls is the best. Like Dyrus is not the best.
And then season 4, he let him back in. And then at Worlds, Balls was really good at Worlds.
He was really good at
Balls. Was really
he had some mediocre games on Kale. The Kale at Worlds was one of the weirdest things to happen.
Yeah,
bunch of
because he
teams
wasn't
tricked
in the
themselves
meta.
into thinking that Kale was a good pick, and then Alliance lost to Kaboom with Kale. Like it was
Right.
really weird. Like that was a weird situation, and
It
Balls was
wasn't
not a
in the
good
meta.
Kale either.
It wasn't in the
Yeah,
meta before Worlds, and then suddenly it was.
yeah,
It
that
was
was
just like, yeah, I definitely agree with you.
all right. So, is there anything else? And we need to I think that's like it for Cloud9 too.
Yeah, I guess the thing with Cloud9 is like they are what they are. Like I don't think
Yeah,
any of the players can improve. Sneaky maybe a little bit, but I think
yeah.
we might have already
Okay,
seen his improvement.
the thing I want to mention is people say this thing that's like quite frustrating. They're like, how do you know Cloud9 can't improve? Like, did you see how much Sneaky improved between season 3? That has literally never happened ever. Like,
No, you that's a it's he
in fact,
completely changed his identity.
in fact, it's downright disrespectful to Sneaky to just assume that another member of Cloud9 will make that jump too. Like nobody has ever made that jump. Do you realize how people do not realize how big that jump was? Especially if you watch some of his games in Challenger. Like
He had a full year of play where he set his level. And
yeah,
then suddenly he really increased his
it was
level.
insane. Like nope, that has never happened. Like you've seen people improve. Like we mentioned other people like Quas improved a lot, or
Yep.
but nobody has improved to that extent. Especially after already seeming like you knew who he was. It's unprecedented. It's actually unprecedented. Like
Yeah, I'm fairly certain. Like when a player sets their level, they're usually just they either get worse or they stay there. They don't get better.
or like they
if
make
you
the
look at
marginal
Aphromoo,
increase by adding like new champions. But like that's about it. Like
Aphromoo, people try to think like, oh, he suddenly got better at support. He wasn't support for very long. He hit his best level and then he's just kind of stayed there.
yeah,
Like it's not like it took him 2 years to get there. He was playing a different role.
yeah, exactly.
And he was almost instantly really good at support.
Yeah,
It's just one of those things like you set a level, and then you don't often like. I don't see. I'm looking at every single player on the roster in the NL LCS right now, and I don't see a single player that I could reasonably say is, oh, he's going to get way better. I mean, the only ones who could are maybe like the people who make role changes. Like maybe Keane could improve a lot because he's picking up a new role. Maybe Fenix turns out to be really good. But like everyone else, your level is set. I think Wildturtle might be able to.
Oh, a quick pause. Keane is picking up a new role in the sense that he's moving from top to mid, but he was a mid lane main before that already.
Okay,
like he was a mid lane main for a very long period of time. He played top briefly because Chris wanted to have Keane and ManCloud.
It's like Impact because Impact went top, support top.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that'd be a good comparison for that. Like he was a mid lane the whole time. He just moved top because they wanted to have ManCloud and Keane, and then at the end they decided not to go with that. So it was for like a very it was for like a month or two. Yeah, so that's like so that's like all the teams I think. So just final thoughts on the project, things you would have done better or
Well, I think what we should have done
Mhm.
and what we'll do next time is instead of having each people individually rank the players,
yeah.
do like a panelist discussion where we collectively arrive on a
Good
ranking.
idea. Yeah,
That
good
way-
idea. 'Cause some of those led to some really interesting scores. Like we were like, what is going on here?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Well, I gave Santorin a 7, which is probably a little high. Everyone at his other high. Trying to think, what were the ones that were really, really? We had a few that were really, really random.
Okay, I'm pulling them
Cali
out.
Trolls a 5.
Cali
Red
Trolls,
Cubs, yeah.
Crumbs, like we touched upon them. High Elimination, Wildturtle, Bjergsen.
Well,
we
I'm
told we
thinking more
crossed.
just like one person who was much different from everybody.
Oh
else.
yeah, there were
And
a
that
few.
was,
Of
like,
those. Oh, I mean, I
console.
gave Crumbs an 8, so.
Well,
but,
yeah, everyone else gave him a 7. That's not different, but like
maybe a better discussion around. Like just a better discussion would be helpful.
I decided on like those 5 characters for like teams, like mechanical ability, shot calling, understand meta, object control, picks bad, but like some of those overlap.
Yeah,
Like,
we could improve on that too, and I think that maybe like something I wanted to bring up was maybe instead of using just strict numbers, you could use tiers or grades. Like this is our it'd be a good way to introduce players. Like this is our tier. Like this is the top tier of 80 carries,
Right.
and in that tier we
tier.
personally rank them 1, 2, 3. Like my top tier is like Doublet, Altec, and Sneaky. But I personally think that like Sneaky is the best, and then Altec and then Doublet for example. Or and we could do a similar thing for team concepts because it's very hard to grade individual team concepts.
right. And
Strictly on a strict numeric basis.
right, especially because like shot calling will lead to good objective control. Understanding the meta involves objective control, and picks and bans fits in. Like a lot of that stuff overlapped, and
Yeah.
also like I had the team part be worth 50% and the player part be worth 50%, but that's also arbitrary. Like
Yeah.
some teams had really good scores in team, but poor scores in the player part.
Yeah, we could have
and
just
stuff.
discussed that further, just to add more clarity into it.
Yep. Apart from that, we're gonna expand to other regions next time.
Yeah,
for sure.
And bring in some experts. I'm talking to some people who are interested in helping us, like EU. EU, we wanted to launch, but it didn't happen, like we mentioned earlier. But yeah, we got some guys who are really excited to work with. I'm really excited to work with, at least. I don't know. Hopefully they're excited to work with me.
I mean, it's been a great experience so far, and I think it'll be easier. I think doing these things, previews in between splits in one season is easier than in between seasons, because like there's always huge changes in between seasons where there's less changes in between splits. So like
we'll be able to get a more realistic evaluation.
Right.
Like for all we know, like Wildturtle can turn his career around because he's like the best Callisto player ever. Like it's just like a totally random thing that could happen. Like, and
there won't be too many roster changes probably between seasons because there's not as big of a break between. Yeah, seasons.
Like half the guys were new this split, so that was like hard. Yeah, there was a lot of speculation. Like,
I had to go watch VODs on like all of these players. I was just like, oh, I'm gonna go watch random VODs on.
Phoenix VODs from 2 years ago.
Yeah, let's go watch this VOD of Core going 0-6 on Big Final Miracle.
God. Alright. Yeah, so I think that's about it. We're wrapping it up. This went on 2 or 3 hours longer than we thought it would. But great talk.
Did, so
and I hope people enjoy it. So
yeah. Me too. Alright, signing off.